You're listening to Let's Talk Sports with Tim McKain, and I have the pleasure of interviewing the legendary Rob Parker. Rob Parker is currently co-host of The Odd Couple on FS1 with Chris Broussard. So, Mr. Parker, my first question to you is, do you remember the first time you fell in love with sports and what it was like to become, when did you want to become a sports journalist?
Yeah, that was early on. You know, I love sports early on. We played, I grew up in a neighborhood in Jamaica, Queens, New York, with 11 guys. We're all around the same age. And all we did was play sports, everything we played. We even played floor hockey in our neighborhood. Imagine this, 9 black kids, 2 Puerto Rican kids. We got hockey sticks in the winter. We played. People used to drive by, stop, get out their cars and look at us like we were crazy. Like, what are these black kids playing hockey on the ice in the street of New York? And we played baseball and football and basketball just until it was too dark to see the ball. So yeah, sports was a big part of my life growing up. And early on, it was like, well, if I can't make it, my dream was to play first base for the Mets. Baseball was my number one love. So it was like, well, if I can't make it as a pro baseball player, what could I do? And at 9 years old, I decided I wanted to be a sports writer.
Wow.
And yeah, goes all the way back to that. And there was a TV show on that was in reruns called The Odd Couple. And it was about a sloppy sports writer, Oscar Madison, and a clean, finicky photographer named Felix Unger. And they lived together. They were both divorced and they shared an apartment. It's a great show. And I used to watch it. And I used to always say, man, Oscar Madison has the greatest job in the world as a sports writer. He travels the country, covers all the games. I was like, that's what I want to do. And a teacher of mine when I was young told me I should be a writer when I grow up, because this was in 2nd grade. I think I was 7 years old. My teacher, I'll never forget the moment. Her name was Miss Noble. She pulled me aside from the rest of the class and she said, Robert, when you grow up, you should be a writer. You're an excellent writer. That stuck with me. So that, plus The Odd Couple TV show, the love for sports, that's really how I got into this. Nobody in my family's ever written for a newspaper, worked on television or radio or anything like that. This was just a dream for a kid. And 35 years later, man, I'm real happy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When it comes to writing and journalism, my father told me as a young man, if you want to become a writer, you need to copy great writers' styles and then develop it and create your own. When it came to developing your own writing style, was it just something that you were naturally gifted in, or did you take someone else's style and then develop into your own?
No, it's the same thing. You gotta be a good reader to be a good writer. So you're reading other people, and your dad is right about reading other people, how they do it, how they turn phrases, what. So it's a development. So it takes time. Everybody has a different style. And my voice came over time. You know, I started out and I wrote some stuff. When I was young, in my 20s, I started out, I was at the Daily News in New York. And I could still remember the sports editor was a guy named Vic Ziegel. So imagine I'm 22, I'm at the largest paper in the country. I'm a general assignment sports writer. And I had a 6-month probation period. My 6 months came up. And I'm in the office and Vic comes over. I can still remember it to this day. He sits on my desk and he looked at me and he said, kid, you made it. You passed probation. You're doing great. We love the work you're doing. And he said to me, and I think you write some of the best leads at the paper. And he says, not just in the sports section, in the entire paper. I think you write very good leads. Yeah. And that gave me a boost of confidence. Imagine being told that at 22 years old. So, it was about, it didn't mean I hadn't made it and I was done. I still had a lot of work to do to finish out from starting great, but writing all the way great throughout the entire piece and whatnot. So that's why I just kept working at it. And now I have a real distinct voice over the last 10 or 12 years. People know when they read my column, if I'm writing, I'm ripping.
Yes. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's good. It's fun.
In an article you wrote in the Detroit Free Press last year in July, you talked about a call that happened on April 4th, 1994, a day that you say not only changed Detroit sports history, but your life forever. How did that day, that call, changed Detroit sports history in your life?
That was when I got into radio, and I was at Fenway Park for the Tigers opening game against the Red Sox. And I got a call in the press box, you know, that over the loudspeakers, like telephone call for Rob Parker from the Free Press. And I'm like, who's calling me on opening day in Boston? So I get on the phone. This is pre-cell phones. We didn't have cell phones. Get on the phone, and this woman is on the other line. She says, hi, I'm Lorna Gladstone, and I'm starting an all-sports radio station in Detroit, and I would love to interview you when you come back from Boston. So I'm like, okay, that'd be cool. So WDFN was the station that they wound up starting. And when I got to this woman, Lorna Gladstone's office to interview, she literally offered me the job 5 minutes into the interview. And I was just like, what? Like, I was stunned because I had never had a radio show. I've been on other people's radio shows, but she said, I talked to a lot of people around town. People say that you're, you know, opinionated, you're fun, you're informative. This is what we're looking for. And then even then I thought maybe they might offer me like a weekend show or some show that was, you know, not the top morning or afternoon drive, some other show, because I was inexperienced. And she was like, no, I think you're going to do afternoon drive, which was 2:30 to 6, which I was just like, and not only that, she allowed me to pick my partner. And I picked a guy named Mike Stone. So I'm very grateful to Lorna Gladstone. 2 years ago, in fact, I went up to Chicago and took her out to lunch and brought her roses and just thanked her for giving me an opportunity for somebody who she believed in. And I didn't even have a, you know, real experience. And she gave me a great opportunity, and I've been able to run with it. So that changed my life, doing sports talk radio. But we started the station in 1994. It's unbelievable how many years has gone by.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What led you to create your voice? I mean, when it comes to your sports opinions and your objectives, they're very strong. They're very passionate. They go against the grain in a lot of ways. What led you to have such a strong voice in sports journalism?
Tim, I just think you don't want to be a sheep and follow the flock. And a lot of people do that or state the obvious. Mm-hmm. So I believe in all my opinions, but I'm always looking for a different angle and a different take. All right. So we might agree on one part of the topic, right? But that's not the one I'm going to combat you with. I'm going to combat you with the piece of it that we don't agree. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
sir.
We might agree in the general scope of it, but I'm like, no. And I'll give you a perfect example. You know, after Kansas City won the first Super Bowl in 50 years, everybody said, oh, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to win every year. That was the easy way to, right? Everybody just said, oh, yeah, they got a great quarterback. He's going to be the GOAT. He's going to win every Super Bowl or whatever. I didn't pick them. You know why I didn't pick them? Because I know how hard it is to win Super Bowls and how tough it is to win back-to-back. And they wind up the Patrick Mahomes, if I would have told you he would have scored no points in the Super Bowl, would you agree? Would you think that was possible? No.
I would not.
Nobody would have. But that's my point, is that's why the games are played, because it's not that easy. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes people just take the most obvious takes and lazy takes, easy takes. Dig a little bit. Yeah. Think about it. Try to be provocative. Try to look for an angle that other people aren't looking at. I try to be original. I do not want to just pile on. Sometimes something is so obvious, you know, you have no choice but to at least acknowledge it. But look for something else. Look for something different.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As a sports journalist, you give your opinions. Have you ever, as for me, I do a lot of mixed martial arts reporting and analyzing and everything like that. And I had a situation where I stated my opinion, and, you know, an athlete, you know, he went online and he kind of bashed me, and, you know, the team kind of bashed me. And has there ever been an athlete or a particular situation where you stated your opinion and an athlete didn't like it, How did you handle that situation?
First of all, I couldn't get into it. There's so many stories. We'd be here all day. So it's okay. They don't have to agree with you as long as it's not mean-spirited, as long as it's not personal, and as long as it's not, you can't back up your opinion. You don't have to apologize for it. I'm serious, because everybody's not going to agree. It's your opinion. It's your take. As long as you can tell people how you got there and why you said what you said, I think that's what people are looking for. That's it. Everybody's not going to agree. We could agree to disagree. But the way you deal with it is, when I was in Detroit, I used to show up to the game when I'd write a column ripping somebody. So if they wanted to say something to me, I was there. I'm not going to rub it in their face and go, "Did you read my column? I ripped you today." I don't do that. But I'm at the ballpark, so if you want to step to me, you have a right and a chance to step to me. And as long as someone wants to disagree or put their point of view out there, I'm cool with that. I get to put my opinion out there, so I respect others who want to push back and want to have their say. So I don't look at it as a negative. If people want to disagree, that's fine. But if you write a column or you say something and then you're afraid to go to the ballpark to face that person you wrote about, you shouldn't be saying it.
I like it.
You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't
be
saying it. But if you know that this is legit, this is your opinion, and you put some thought and time into it, and this is what you come up with, you should have no problem going and seeing that person the next time.
Absolutely. I believe the first interview you did, and I could be wrong at this, correct me if I'm wrong, you were 15 years old and you interviewed Isaiah Thomas. Were you 15 years old at the time?
No, that was my very first. I was in New York, and actually my first interview with a big time athlete I was in college, and I might have been 19. And I interviewed Darryl Strawberry at Shea Stadium in the dugout. I was 19 years old. It was unbelievable. And Darryl and I, we communicate all the time. We stayed in touch. And he's doing great things. You know, he's born again, a minister, and does great stuff. You know, he's had a lot of trials and tribulations in his life, but he's got it together. I'm proud of the guy. And he had a beautiful left-handed swing. If anybody has never seen, go to YouTube and watch Darryl Strawberry, left-handed, big home run bat, played for the Mets in the 80s. They won the World Series in 86. He won a couple World Series with the Yankees in the 90s. Just a great ball player.
Absolutely. What is the most significant achievement of your career?
Great question. It is when I became the first Black sports columnist at the Detroit Free Press. This was back in 1993. When the paper hired me, the paper was 161 years old. They had never had a Black man with a sports column who gave his opinion. And I wound up going to Detroit. I told you I'm from New York, and spending 20 great years there. Loved Detroit. They treated me like I was one of their own. I had a voice for the people. I would come back from games and I would walk through the airport and people would say, you know, "Welcome home, Rob. Yo, the Lions stink. You gave it to them in the paper today." You know, or whatever it was. But I felt like I connected to the people of Detroit and I represented them. And to this day, even when I'm on national television and national radio, you know, there's a sense of pride that you know, I represent the city well. And most people think I'm from Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
I spent 20 years there, and that's where I made my name. My name for the most part was made in Detroit. So Detroit has a special part in my life. You know, I worked in New York, I worked in Cincinnati, I worked in Detroit, and now I work in Los Angeles. But Detroit will always have a special part in my heart.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you grew up in New York. New York is where you're from, but you lived in Detroit for 20 years. Which is your favorite sports city? Is it Detroit or is it New York City?
Detroit is a better sports town than New York. Only from this standpoint. Detroit has 4 teams. Everybody's a Tiger fan. Everybody's a Red Wings fan. Everybody's a Pistons fan. Everybody's a Lions fan. New York, the problem is you have too many teams. You have 9 teams. So the allegiance is split. Yankees could win the World Series. Half the city doesn't care because they're Mets fans. They really don't care. Wow. So it's different. You got the Knicks and the Nets now. Nets are in Brooklyn, Knicks, right? Longtime team in New York. Same thing when it comes to football, Jets and Giants. You can't be a fan of both teams.
No.
You're a real New Yorker. You pick a team. So the magnitude of it isn't as big because there's a split allegiance. Wow. That's why I think Detroit is a better sports town.
I got you. How important is it that young African-American kids see Black professionals in sports media outside of just playing the sports? Because like you said, when you were 9 years old, you decided that you were going to go into sports journalism. How important is it for young kids to see brothers like you, chasing their dreams in sports journalism?
It's important because I think when you see people who look like you, you realize it can be done. And you got to remember, when I was a kid growing up, there really weren't that many guys. Art Rush Jr. had a sports talk radio show in New York on WABC, and I used to listen to it. Art Rush Jr. And he had a big-time sports show on one of the biggest stations in New York. So this was back when I was a kid. So I appreciated that, and that gave me, hope, and I could dream about doing it because I heard a guy who sounded like me on the radio, and the late Art Rush Jr., great guy, great talk show, and guys like that. And then, so now to see these guys, you see Stephen A. and you see Chris Broussard and me and different people. If you're, growing up and you aspire to do that, you can say, I want to be like one of these guys and I want to follow their career path and look at what they did in their career and how they got there and get a chance. You get a chance to reach out and talk to people, Tim. I mean, that's how you got to talk to me on social media. Years ago, this would have never been able to be possible, So those are the good things that all can work out. So, and that's why another thing, and I do want to, make sure we talk about this lastly, but that's why I'm starting MLBbro.com, an all-Black website covering Black and brown baseball players. It debuts April 1st. And part of the website is I want to have some interns. I'm looking for, Black women and men who love baseball, who would love to cover the sport. So I would love to develop the next generation of Black baseball writers on this website, working on it. So I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys check it out. It's MLBbro.com.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From your own experiences in life, how important is it to bet on yourself and potentially being willing to fail forward to reach success?
The reason most people in life don't succeed is because they're afraid to fail. You got to be afraid. All the great people who have ever accomplished anything failed along the way. Things didn't work out. You tried something, it failed. So you can't be afraid to fail. And you have to bet on yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, why would anybody else believe in you? So do your homework, set yourself up, there's no shortcuts. So if you're doing shortcuts, you're cheating yourself. You're not cheating the place you're trying to get hired at. You're cheating yourself if you're not putting in the work. People who put in the work get rewarded ultimately, for the most part. So you have to do that. Do your due diligence, put in your work, have a passion about it. You got to remember, it's very competitive. You got to want it more than the next guy.
Absolutely, absolutely. As someone who gives back through mentorship, you mentor a lot of young professionals who want to have a career in sports journalism. How important is mentorship to you? And what led you to realize that you wanted to mentor young sports journalists?
Well, it really started from people mentoring me when I got started. I told you I was in New York. I was 22 years old at the biggest paper in the country. And guys looked out for me. Guys were trying to help me. Bill Rhoden was at the New York Times when I started. He was covering St. John's. And I'm going to give you a brief story. We get off the plane in Buffalo. I'm covering my first road game. Bill Rhoden's on my plane. I knew Bill a little bit, not a lot. And Bill Rhoden sees me and he's like, you rent a car? You got a car? where you know, he starts to ask me stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't have a car. I guess I got to find a car, get a car. It's my first road trip. He's like, get in the car with me. And he shows me around. This is my first game. He's telling me exactly what we need to do, whatever. I didn't have to ask him, hey, Bill, can you help me? He just automatically said he was going to help me because that's what you do. And so I said to myself, when I get into a position where I could help younger people who reach out for help, I'm going to do the same exact thing. And that's really how I got into mentorship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What led you to start your new website, MLBBro.com? And who are some of the great baseball players that you remember as a kid watching and admiring in the sport?
Well, I mean, like I say, I look at MLB Bro as being like the Undisputed to ESPN. You know, you have the main site, and then you have stories about Black people and Black players and athletes. So I think it was born off of that, and I thought this would be great for baseball. Because baseball, I mean, people act like baseball is a part of a Black American culture.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
We look at the record books, some of the good. We just started playing in the big leagues in 1947, and we own a lot of the records and have had a lot of great players. So I just thought we should highlight them. And, you know, a lot of these AAU coaches have talked players out of playing other sports, and they're only playing football or only playing basketball. And there's a lot of great young Black baseball players coming up. So the numbers are going to turn around and come back this way. In the College World Series this past year, Michigan had 8 Black players on its roster. So wow. Those numbers are about to come. So I want to be ready for it. And that's what made me decide to jump in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What do you think happened? Because like you said, baseball used to be, even before baseball was integrated, we had the Negro Leagues. And even before we had the Negro Leagues, there was actually leagues in the 1800s and 1880s where we actually saw some integration sports leagues.
Right.
I feel like Black people, we kind of like left baseball. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's a long conversation, but 2 things. I think what happened was what I was talking about. AAU, these coaches have talked. All the great players played more than one sport. Michael Jordan played baseball. Okay.
Jim Brown.
Yes, I could go on and Jim Brown was one of the greatest lacrosse players. Okay, but then what happened is everything became specialized. Oh no, you should only play basketball 12 months a year all the time and not spend it. That's ridiculous. So a lot of these kids put all their eggs in one basket, and then they didn't get a basketball scholarship, or when they could have gotten a baseball scholarship, you know, because they're athletes and they're talented. Wow. So I think that's what happened. And the same thing, people started putting everything into one sport and thinking that that's what they needed to do. And a lot of Black athletes. And the same thing, baseball is a frustrating game. If you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? That's how hard it is. And so there's the frustration of that. Basketball and football, you go to college and immediately you go to the pros. Mm-hmm. Baseball, you go to the minor leagues. You might be there 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years before you get a chance to get to the big leagues. So it's a whole different route. Kids today want instant gratification. Yeah. I don't know if they really want to work and put in the work and understand, but there's look at the baseball contracts. Look at the money that's available in baseball compared to the other sports. It's not even close. Talking about guaranteed money you're going to get. So yes, I think it's on the rise back, and hopefully we'll get there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are your personal keys to success?
Work hard. That's the biggest thing. Believe in yourself. And don't let other people talk you out of what your dream is. That happens a lot. Family, friends, oh, you can't do that. You can't, you know, there's not a lot of Black people doing that, or you're not going to make it to ESPN or Fox, or you're not. Don't listen to those people. They don't know. Put in your work, have a passion about it, and believe in yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Parker, for your time. Where can the people find you? If the people don't know, they should know, but where can the people find you on social media, Twitter, Instagram?
The best thing to do is go to my website, GetRobbed.com, GetRobbed, GetRobbed.com. It has everything there. Next time I'm going to be on TV, my radio show, my columns from Deadspin. If you want to buy the Odd Couple merchandise, everything is on that. My Twitter, my Instagram. So go to getrobbed.com.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Have a blessed day.
You too. Appreciate you.